There was once an empire so great, they didn't just sell products. They held a literal monopoly on the memories of all of America. At their peak, 9 out of every 10 photos taken worldwide passed through their hands. They controlled 90% of the US market. They had the money, the power, and the most brilliant engineering minds on the planet.
But then, in a mere blink of an eye in corporate history, they vanished. A total collapse. Many say they died because they were tech blind, that they were simply too slow to adapt to the digital age. But the truth is a whole lot darker than that. This empire literally built the weapon of its own destruction. They held it in their hands. They knew exactly how powerful it was. And yet, they decided to bury it alive in a safe for 20 years. Why? Because of greed, corporate cover-ups, and a chronic disease the business world calls the nostalgia trap. Let's rewind the clock to 1975. Over in Rochester, New York, a 24-year-old engineer named Steve Sasson was tinkering away in a hidden Kodak lab. He had just successfully rigged together a bizarre Frankenstein creation. An old movie camera lens, a few spare parts scavenged from Motorola, and 16 batteries. The thing was the size of a toaster. It weighed nearly 9 pounds. And it did something absolutely crazy. It took a picture without using a single strip of photographic film. It saved the image onto a cassette tape. It took exactly 23 seconds to record a blurry black and white photo with a resolution of 0.01 megapixels. That right there was the world's very first digital camera. Thrilled, Sasson brought his baby to present to the Kodak board of directors. He thought he had just discovered the future of humanity. He genuinely thought they were going to build a bronze statue of him in the lobby. But what was the reaction of those suit-wearing elites sitting in the boardroom that day?
That's cute, Steve, but don't tell anyone about it. And that was it. The greatest invention of the 20th century was tossed into a dusty drawer, banned from being mentioned, locked away. But why would a tech company intentionally hide a multi-billion-dollar breakthrough? What was really going on behind those closed boardroom doors? To understand this insane decision, you have to realize one fundamental truth. Kodak didn't actually sell cameras. It's exactly how printer companies like HP operate today. You go to Best Buy and you grab a shiny new printer for a dirt cheap $30. But when it runs out of ink, you go to buy a replacement cartridge and realize printer ink costs about as much as liquid gold. It's called the razor and blades business model. Sell the handle for cheap and absolutely fleece the customer on the blades they have to keep replacing. The Keurig coffee maker sitting on your kitchen counter works the exact same way. Kodak was the godfather of this hustle. They practically gave their cameras away. But to actually take a picture, you had to buy their film rolls. Once you finished shooting, you had to take it to Walgreens to get it developed. And take a wild guess, who manufactured the chemicals used to develop it? Yep, Kodak. The photo paper? Kodak. Their profit margins on film and chemicals were sitting at an astronomical 70%. Kodak wasn't a hardware company back then. They were a highly lucrative, addictive chemical empire. Now, put yourself in the shoes of the Kodak CEO that year. This young employee, Sasson, walks in with a camera that needs no film, no chemicals, and no photo paper. If this thing took off, Kodak's billion-dollar cash cow would vanish into thin air. They didn't look at the digital camera as an opportunity. They saw it as a suicide bomber sprinting straight for the company's vault. And when faced with that threat, instead of adapting, Kodak's executive board made a brutal, history-altering choice. This is where toxic nostalgia began to devour the empire.
By the 1990s, the digital tsunami was making landfall. But instead of pouring money into developing the tech they invented, Kodak did something mind-boggling. They burned billions of dollars trying to save film. They were trapped in the delusion of their own glory days. They genuinely believed the American public would stay forever loyal to the feeling of holding a physical roll of film in their hands. So, what did they do? They rolled out a Frankenstein's monster called the Advantix film system in 1996. It was a desperate, bloated attempt to hybridize digital and film. They torched over $500 million marketing the thing. The result? An absolute catastrophe. Consumers looked at it and asked, why on earth would I use this half-baked gimmick when I can just look at my photos instantly on a computer screen? So who benefited from this corporate blindness? Tech rivals like Sony, Canon, and Nikon. And who paid the ultimate price? Over 130,000 hardworking Kodak employees worldwide. Before we look at how this whole house of cards came crashing down, let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked under corporate bosses who were so arrogant, so blinded by past success, that they refused to see reality until it hit them like a freight train? If you've lived through that nightmare, let me know in the comments below. Because what happened next to Kodak is the ultimate cautionary tale. By the time Kodak finally woke up and decided to jump into the digital race, it was already too late. The profit margin for digital cameras had plummeted to a measly 5%. It wasn't nearly enough to feed the bloated, crumbling mechanical beast they had built. And then came the final, fatal blow. The year is 2007. Steve Jobs walks onto a stage in San Francisco and pulls the very first iPhone out of his pocket. The final nail had just been hammered straight into Kodak's coffin. In 2012, the company that had practically defined the visual 20th century officially filed for bankruptcy. The once thriving town of Rochester became an industrial ghost town. A death foretold. A death that was entirely, painfully avoidable. But hold on. You didn't really think the story ended there, did you? Not even close. Because history has a very, very cruel sense of humor. To truly grasp the sheer stupidity of Kodak's leadership, we have to look at the accidental hero of this story, Fujifilm, Kodak's primary arch-nemesis from Japan. Fuji faced the exact same digital tsunami. Their management panicked too. But instead of clinging blindly to the past, Fuji's CEO at the time performed a bloody, ruthless corporate surgery. He looked at Fuji's treasure trove of 20,000 chemical patents and asked a brilliant question. What else can we possibly use this stuff for? And get this, here is a mind-blowing biological fact. The molecular structure of photographic film is remarkably similar to human skin. Both require collagen to prevent oxidation, fading, and wrinkling. So, boom, Fujifilm took the exact same technology used to preserve photos and created Astalift, which became one of the highest-end anti-aging skincare brands in all of Asia. They used their film coating tech to manufacture optical components for smartphone screens and LCD TVs. Fuji practically cut off its own arm to survive. They didn't mourn the past. They had the guts to kill their golden child before someone else did it for them. Today, Fujifilm is a thriving global conglomerate, and Kodak, just a ghost on a legal document. And now, for the biggest plot twist of the decade.
The year is 2026. Welcome to the era of artificial intelligence, 8K video, and pocket-sized smartphones that can capture the craters on the moon. Everything around us is too sharp, too clean, too perfect. But human beings are weird creatures. When everything gets too sterile and perfect, we start craving imperfections. Gen Z, kids who were practically born holding iPads, who have never smelled a single drop of darkroom chemical in their lives, are suddenly obsessing over vintage film cameras. On TikTok, the hashtag film photography has billions of views. Young people are hunting down clunky, decades-old cameras. They crave that grainy aesthetic. The painful, beautiful anticipation of waiting 3 whole days just to see how a picture turned out.
It's called the nostalgia economy. And the ultimate, cruelest irony of it all? Because the global demand for film rolls has skyrocketed through the roof, Kodak, the literal industrial zombie of yesteryear, is now forced to hire hundreds of new workers just to restart their dusty, abandoned film factories. According to data right now, they literally cannot manufacture film fast enough to meet the demand.
Do you grasp the absolute insanity of this loop? Kodak died because they were too nostalgic about film and aggressively rejected the future. But today, they've been dragged back to life precisely because the future generation is getting nostalgic about their past. Nostalgia really is a hell of a drug. It's comforting, it makes you feel safe, but it completely blinds you to reality. The Kodak story isn't just a dry case study in an economics textbook. It's a warning to all of us. The biggest enemy of tomorrow isn't ignorance. It's the comfortable successes of yesterday. When you lack the courage to tear down the old, you end up becoming a museum of yourself.
Speaking of nostalgia, man, it really is an expensive death trap. Last week, out of sheer foolish longing for my youth, I decided not to scrap my beat-up 2005 Toyota Camry. I took it to the local shop and dropped nearly $800 just to fix the CD player. Yeah, $800. Just so I could blast my high school Linkin Park CD, when I literally could have bought 6 years of Spotify Premium for that price. My wife looked at me like I was a certified lunatic, and honestly, she was 100% right. Nostalgia is an expensive habit. Living in the past is a mess, and it empties your bank account real quick.
If you've ever made an irresponsibly stupid decision because you were too in love with the past, or if you still have an old Kodak box sitting in your attic, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so I can finally pay off this ridiculous mechanic bill. Thanks for watching,
and I'll see you in the next case file.